Hello friends and welcome. Have you ever had this experience where you've hesitated to invest either time or money in something and then you've waffled back and forth before purchasing, and then when you do buy it, you find out that you absolutely love it and you say to yourself, why the heck did I wait so long to do this? Well, that's exactly what's happened to me recently. In fact, it's happened twice. And one of those times involved one of my Sephora sale purchases, which I'll share with you shortly. But the first time was when I was deciding whether or not to invest my time in setting up something called a click and grow garden recently. Now, this click and grow system provides a container, plants, lights, and nutrients in a variety of container sizes, and all you have to do is add water. Now, you'd think I would have immediately jumped on board with this since it was only 3 plants, but I do have an absolutely perfect track record of black thumb adventures, so I did hesitate. But once I did take the time to set it up, I so enjoyed watching those plants take off. And here's what my basil, lettuce, and wild strawberry plants look like right now. And I've already used quite a bit of the lettuce in my salads. And if you or someone you love might enjoy this plant growing experience, I've included links below in the description box so you can check them out. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty darn excited about this product. But let's get back to the subject at hand, makeup. Before I dive into my Sephora sale purchases, I do want to take just a moment to welcome those of you who are returning, and also to say a warm welcome to those of you who might be visiting for the very first time. My name is Elise, and as a makeup artist who specializes in helping those of us who are over 50 look our very best, I love sharing makeup tips, techniques, and products that work the best for us now. So if this focus is something that might be helpful to you, I do hope you'll subscribe before you leave today. Now, during this last Sephora spring sale, I purchased 7 products, and those of you who've been with me for a while will probably be very surprised to learn that not one of these purchases involved an eyeshadow palette. I think this may be a first. Eyeshadow palettes are definitely my weakness, but nothing was really calling my name this time around. I did purchase 3 foundations, a face primer, a lip treatment, and 2 brushes. Now, all of these were new products to me except for a restock of my Fresh Sugar Advanced Therapy Lip Balm. As you can see, I definitely needed to purchase a new one. And by the way, do any of you get a little frustrated by containers like this, where you know there's still a whole lot of product in the bottom, but you can't easily get to it? I end up taking a Q-tip and digging it out. Anyone else do that too? I think of this lip balm as a small happiness indulgence simple pleasure product because I do already have a lip balm I love called the Naked Bee, which is incredibly good and it's very inexpensive. But I love putting this Fresh Sugar lip balm over it because I love the way it feels, and I also love the scent, which for me is like taking a mini trip to a Caribbean island. But now let's move on to the 3 foundations that I purchased. The Sephora brand Best Ever Skin Foundation, the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better Foundation, and the Tarte C Hydroflex Serum Foundation. I'd also wanted to purchase the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, but it was sold out in my color. So if any of you do have this NARS foundation, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. All 3 of the foundations that I purchased are liquid foundations, which are billed as medium coverage, good hydrating foundations, and they also have hyaluronic acid. The Sephora foundation comes in 50 shades, the IT Cosmetics foundation in 40 shades, and the Tarte foundation in 32 shades. Now, typically, foundations labeled as light with cool undertones work well for me. First, I want to swatch all 3 of these foundations so we can see how similar or how dissimilar they are, even though they're all billed as a light, cool shade. Now, I think you can see that all of them have about the same amount of coverage, but there is definitely differences in the shades. The top one is a Sephora foundation. This is the IT Cosmetics foundation, which is definitely the lightest. And this is the Tarte foundation. Wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if your shade could be found across the board looking the same in all foundations? Well, that's a dream that will probably never happen, but boy, that would be so helpful, wouldn't it? Let's go ahead and start the application process with the Sephora foundation. I have shade 11.5P, and I've done all my skin prep and used one of my favorite face primers, which is the Hourglass Vanish Primer. And since I'm going with the Sephora foundation first, I'm going to also grab the Sephora 56 Pro Foundation brush to apply the Sephora foundation, since I also purchased this brush during the recent sale. And here's what the Sephora brush looks like. The brush comes in both a mini and a standard size, and I'll be using the standard size. Now, what makes this a good foundation brush is that it has densely packed bristles, which are extremely soft, and it also has a dome shape. This brush also works incredibly well to apply cream and liquid blush and contour. In fact, that's really the main reason that I purchased it. I'm going to go ahead and put some of the foundation on the back of my hand and then dot it on with my fingers and then blend it in with a Sephora brush. But I am only going to put it on one side of my face so we can try out one of the other foundations on the other side. I always like to shake up foundations first, and I'm just going to dot it. This looks like it's going to be a pretty good match, actually. I like the way it feels. It looks like it's going to have enough coverage, but it's not real heavy feeling. And let's see how this brush, oh, I like the feel of this brush. It's so densely packed that you'd think it might be uncomfortable, but the bristles are so soft that it really feels good. I'm impressed with this foundation, I have to say. I can understand why this has gotten some rave reviews. And let me add just a little bit more to the areas where I have a little bit more redness. Now, none of these foundations have an SPF, so that's good to be aware of too. It really blends easily. I'm really pleasantly surprised. Now let's go ahead and take a close-up so we can really see what this foundation looks like on my face. I'm amazed how natural it looks. And even though it's a natural finish, there does seem to be a little bit of glow. However, that might be coming from my primer underneath. But it's incredibly natural, and I'm amazed by the shade match too. I'll go ahead and pin a comment later tonight to let you know how well this foundation wore and how well the other foundation that I'll be trying also wore. On the other side of my face, I'm going to apply the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better foundation in the shade Light Cool 20. Now, to be honest, I hesitated to purchase this foundation because in the past, IT Cosmetics foundations have just looked way too yellow on my skin. So I've never really been able to get a good shade match. So I'm really curious to see how well this one will match my particular skin tone. Once again, I'm shaking the foundation well. Now this looked quite a bit lighter than the other foundations, so this will be interesting to see if it's a decent shade match. This has a slightly lighter feel to it than the Sephora foundation, but it's providing, I think, about the same kind of coverage. And I think I'll put this on my nose too. It's not adhering to my nose very well. That's interesting. Let me try dotting it on, see if that works better. So let's take a look up close at the IT Cosmetics foundation. I think they look pretty similar. I can tell that this is a little bit lighter, and surprisingly, I feel like this side, the Sephora foundation, is a little more hydrating, which I would not have expected. But I'm impressed with both of these foundations. So I'm going to take a close-up looking straight on ahead, because that way maybe we can compare how different or similar these foundations are. I've previously tried the Tarte C Hydroflex Serum Foundation in 20B Light Beige, and my first impression was that it was okay, but quite honestly, it didn't really knock my socks off. But I really do have to try it a few more times before I give you my final thoughts on it, since I've had the experience, and I'm sure you probably have too, where you've tried a product initially that didn't wow you, but later it became a favorite. So for the time being, let me show you what it looks like on the back of my hand. So here's the Tarte foundation, and frankly, I think it looks like there may be a little bit more yellow to it. Next, let's take a look at the face primer that I purchased. It's Tarte's C Glotion Skin Perfector Primer. Now, this is a clean beauty product which is hydrating and has a radiant finish. Among other ingredients, it contains niacinamide, prickly pears, and birch tree water, and it's supposed to perfect and prime while also providing a lit from within glow. That's a lot to have to live up to. So I'm going to put a little bit of this primer on the back of my hand as well. And this is the primer. Now, in the reviews that I read, some people said they like to just use this alone. It has a little bit of coverage. It's sort of a very light golden bronze look. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply the Tarte primer and then put the Tarte C Hydroflex Serum Foundation over it so we can see the difference. So here at the top is just the Tarte foundation. Here is just the primer. And here is the Tarte primer under the Tarte foundation. I think you can see more of a glow in that bottom swatch. And the bottom swatch has the primer first with the foundation over it. I'm not sure how well that primer color is going to work on my skin tone, but that will be another interesting thing to test out. Next up is the final product I purchased during the Sephora sale, and this is the product that has absolutely blown me away. During the last two Sephora sales, I've taken this product in and out of my cart several times, but I bit the bullet and actually did purchase it this time around. Surprisingly, this product is a brush. It's Huda Beauty's Tantour Face Contouring, Sculpt, and Shade Brush. It's the Allure 2019 Best of Beauty Award winner, and it's also dual-ended, as you saw. It's a synthetic brush that can be used for powder products as well as liquid contour and bronzing products. The smaller side is great for precise application, and the larger end blends and buffs. I think this is the very best brush I've ever found to apply, blend, and buff cream, contour, or bronzer. And what I especially love about it is that the smaller end is perfect for contouring the nose and for the initial placement of the contour on the face. And then the larger end works beautifully to blend and buff the cream product in. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my Huda Beauty Tantour Contour and Bronzer Cream in Light, and then use the Huda Beauty brush to apply it. This is the Huda Beauty Contour and Bronzer in the shade Light. There is one lighter shade, and there are also 3 deeper shades as well. I took the smaller end first and dipped it into the contour. Then I'm going to brush it on the back of my hand just so it's evenly applied to the brush area. And then I'm just going to place it, and see how beautifully it fits in that area? I just love how easy this makes applying bronzer. Then I'm going to use it along my jawline and along the top of my forehead. Then I'm going to use the other side to blend it in. And you see how perfectly that blends in? Now, that's a function of how creamy this contour is, as well as how well the brush works to blend it in. The brush, as you can see, is very dense, but it's also very soft. I think this is amazing. This was so worth the money, and I certainly wish I had purchased it earlier when I first wanted to. Now, I just have very little product left on the smaller end of the brush, so I'm going to take that and use that to contour my nose. As you can see, it fits perfectly in that groove. And then I'm just going to press it in with my fingers. That's a very light contour. Of course, I could go deeper if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it light. This contour also comes with a little plastic shield on it, which I really advise keeping because you don't want this cream to dry out. And as you can see, this is a twist top, so I like to make sure that's in place securely as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply my favorite blush, highlighter, and lipstick to finish off the look. I'll be using the Patrick Ta Powder Cream Blush Combo in She's a Doll, the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter called Spotlight, and several different lip products, which I'll list in the description box below. And by the way, I'll list all the products that I've used today in that description box below. The Patrick Ta blush has both a powder and a cream, and he suggests applying the powder first and the cream over it, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use the pink on the far left side. This is very pigmented, so it's a good idea to just take 1 or 2 dips and then tap it off. I don't even know if this is showing up because the lights are so bright, but I am definitely seeing some color. And then I like to bring the color just up a little bit over the eyes. Just sort of brings the whole look together a little bit. There's a term for this in the makeup world called draping. Now I'm just dipping my finger into the cream and patting it over. And there's not much color actually to the cream product. It's more translucent, but it just gives a beautiful glow. Now can you see the difference between this side with the cream over the powder and this side with just the powder? Love that blush. It has quickly become one of my favorites. Next is the Charlotte Tilbury Highlighter Wand in the color Spotlight. As you may have heard me say previously, I am not a fan of this applicator at all, but it is just the most gorgeous highlight. Take my sponge and just make it a little bit thinner. I think you can see what a difference that highlight makes. And a little bit on this side. I like to just blend it in first with my fingers. Always going backwards, don't want to bring it too close to the nose. And also want to avoid the wrinkles under the eye area. And then with the sponge over it. Then also a little bit of translucent powder from Laura Mercier down the center T-zone area. And then I always like to finish off with my Hourglass Finishing Powders Blush and Bronzer. This Hourglass highlighter just has the amazing ability to bring everything together in a really soft, beautiful sheer glow, if that makes any sense. It's really hard to describe what it does, and you probably can't see it on camera, but in person, it just really makes a difference. It just softens the whole look and it just makes it all blend together. And I'm taking just a little bit of the blush, bringing that in. Then I like to go over everything with my sponge. This really makes sure everything works together. I start off with concealer to help blur out the edges of my lips so I can increase the volume a little bit when I use my lip liner. This also helps fill in those little vertical lines. And it's easier with lip liner to hold it horizontally when you do the bottom part of the lip. I use the matte first so it doesn't seep into those fine little lines as easily, but then I put a satin lipstick over it. But I don't go all the way to the edge with the satin lipstick because satin lipsticks are far more likely to bleed into those fine lines. I want a little bit deeper color, so I'm going to add that and blend it with the pink. And by the way, this is the bag of lipsticks I work with to make my look either lighter or darker. Well, we are done. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've tried any of these products that I've tried out today, or if you found any products during the Sephora sale that you absolutely love. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday and wish you good health and happiness. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care.